Welcome, everyone. Today, we are going to talk about a challenge that every industrial leader faces: how to modernize maintenance without it feeling like just another corporate program that creates initiative fatigue. My name is Santosh Raikar, and as a maintenanologist, I've spent my career looking at how we can build a plant-owned reliability operating model that actually sticks. The central question often asked at the board level is why so many maintenance initiatives fail to survive beyond the initial launch meetings and branded posters. The reality is that organizations often launch programs that compete with operations for attention, rather than strengthening the plant system. The challenge for us as leaders is to transform the operating model itself, rather than simply adding a new layer of compliance paperwork. The core thesis of this presentation is simple. Transformation succeeds when it becomes the way the plant naturally runs, not a side project owned by headquarters or consultants. If we add meetings and dashboard without removing role overload, we get fatigue. The winning model is built on local ownership, clear roles, and a discipline that protects the system from drifting back into old habits. To explore this, we'll follow a structured agenda. We'll start with why corporate programs fail, define what real transformation looks like, and then dive into the design principles for a plant-owned model. Finally, we'll cover roles, governance, and a practical implementation roadmap supported by real-world case vignettes. Let's start with part one: why corporate programs fail. We need to understand the gap between the energy we see at a launch event and the harsh reality of daily operations. We've all seen this pattern. A new initiative is announced with great fanfare and executive sponsorship. Sites attend workshops and fill out templates, but within 9 months, old behaviors return. This isn't because the plant rejected the idea of being better. It's because they rejected the added ambiguity and impracticality that the program brought to their already full schedules. Adding another program actually tends to lower adoption. Every new initiative competes for a finite amount of managerial capacity and frontline trust. If we don't subtract complexity while adding transformation, adoption will predictably decline. We must learn to govern change like a finite capacity portfolio. How do you know if you have program fatigue? You'll hear the new terminology, but the daily work remains reactive. Managers spend more time reporting on the program than actually changing how work is done. Essentially, the initiative becomes a coordinator's project rather than a routine embedded in line leadership. The failure often stems from a mismatch. Headquarters provides new branding and extra reporting, but what the site actually needs is protected time for work discipline and help removing the structural barriers that prevent them from being efficient. We need to move from adding stuff to providing support. There is a fundamental difference between a program and a true transformation. A program creates awareness, but only a redesigned operating model creates durable behavior. As leaders, we should be asking how this system will live on its own after the initial launch phase ends. Now that we understand the pitfalls, let's move to part two, defining what maintenance transformation really is, moving from project language to true operating capability. Transformation is not a slogan. It is the fundamental redesign of how work is identified, planned, and improved. It's about changing how operations, maintenance, and engineering share ownership. The output isn't a binder. It's better plant performance with lower friction. What does good look like? It means lower reactive work, better schedule compliance, and higher trust between departments. When we get this right, the value is visible through better availability, lower costs, and reduced risk across the entire site. Ultimately, maintenance transformation is a value creation system. The economic case goes far beyond just controlling the maintenance budget. It impacts quality stability, labor leverage, and inventory discipline. When we translate maintenance into enterprise value, boards engage much more effectively. We need an essential mindset shift. Stop asking how to launch the program and start asking how to make better maintenance behavior the easiest and most normal behavior for every employee every day. That framing leads to better workflow design rather than just campaign language. Value leaks when transformation isn't embedded in the work itself. Even the best strategic intent decays if it isn't translated into local habits. Our challenge isn't just to inspire, it's to ensure that the change is retained within the operating system long term. In part three, We will look at the design principles that allow us to transform maintenance without creating a new layer of bureaucracy. Principle number 1, the plant must own it. While support functions can coach and align, they cannot substitute for line ownership. If the transformation is carried by a single consultant or a lone champion, it will inevitably break when that person moves on. Principle 2 is remove before you add. Every new expectation should be matched by something that is simplified or stopped. The fastest way to kill change is to pile new work onto roles that are already overloaded. We must recognize that role capacity is finite. Supervisors cannot sustain good work management habits if their attention is fragmented by too many initiatives. Boards should be asking what existing burdens have been removed to make room for these new expectations. The third principle is to design around work management. Planning and scheduling are not administrative tasks. They are the spine of the entire system. Transform the workflow first, and the reliability tools will be far more effective. Principle 4 is to tie every element to loss removal. When teams can see that a change solves a real pain point, like a breakdown or a spare parts issue, adoption happens naturally. If the change feels disconnected from their daily losses, it just feels like corporate work. Finally, make the field the source of truth. We should judge success by field behavior and asset outcomes, not by how many templates were filled out. Dashboards are evidence, but the operating reality is what we see during a walk down. Part 4 dives into the core operating model. These are the building blocks that must work together to create a sustainable system. A transformed system continuously exposes loss and executes work with discipline. No single tool creates the result. The integrity of the entire loop matters most. Leadership's job is to protect this loop from being broken by short-term pressures. It starts with work management fundamentals, asset hierarchy, backlog quality, and a frozen weekly schedule. We need planners to own the quality of the jobs and a feedback loop that captures history for future improvement. On the reliability side, we need a strategy driven by asset criticality. This includes precision maintenance standards and a disciplined response to condition monitoring. We must have a process for reviewing bad actors and following through on root causes. Operations integration is vital. This means shared ownership of equipment conditions and clear rules for when maintenance needs access. We need operators to be the first line of defense and defect detection. We also need materials and support. Storeroom accuracy and kitting discipline are essential so that technicians have what they need when they need it. The data systems should help execution rather than slowing it down. Ultimately, transformation must change the operating system, not just the vocabulary. If you don't see a material change in the work mix or execution quality, the site has likely just relabeled their old way of doing things. In Part 5, we discuss roles, behaviors, and accountability. We need to be very clear about who must own what. Local line ownership starts with the plant manager and extends to operations and maintenance leaders. Central teams and planners enable this by providing standards and flow control. Everyone has a specific part to play in keeping the system running. Executives have a unique role. They must protect the site's focus. They need to resolve cross-functional barriers and avoid asking for superficial green reporting when the underlying behavior is still unstable. Site leaders must protect the discipline of the schedule. They need to be in the field coaching their teams and ensuring that routines are followed even when production pressure is high. Accountability dies when decision rights are unclear or when metrics reward local optimization over system health. We cannot assume that planners or engineers own execution. That responsibility stays with line leadership. Moving to Part 6, we look at governance and measures. This is how the system stays alive over the long haul. A governance cadence prevents drift. Daily controls protect today's execution, while weekly and monthly reviews protect the overall health of the system. This shouldn't feel like a special calendar. It should be how the plant runs. We need a balanced dashboard. Don't just focus on PM compliance. We need to look at workflow, defect response, and reliability outcomes to get a true signal for better decision-making. The metrics that really matter include emergency work percentage, schedule compliance, and MTBF trends. These are the indicators that tell us if our transformation is actually capturing value. Conversely, treat raw compliance scores or meeting attendance with caution. These are often proxies that don't reflect the actual quality of work or the health of the assets. For the board, the question should be, what complexity was removed? How has the work mix changed? Where is the system still breaking down? This focuses the conversation on durability rather than just launch metrics. Part 7 provides the implementation roadmap, the journey from concept to durable adoption. Always start where the pain is visible. Choose a pilot area with high consequences and a willing leader. A successful pilot creates the credibility and the local playbook needed for a wider rollout. The roadmap should follow a logical sequence: stabilize, clarify, rebuild, and then scale. Transformation should move at the speed of adoption, not at the speed of an arbitrary announcement deadline. In the first 30 days, clarify your why and map the current reality. Most importantly, stop the low-value reporting that will only distract the team from the transformation goals. From day 30 to 90, focus on the fundamentals: backlog quality, planning standards, and role definitions. This is when field coaching around work package quality begins to take root. Between months 3 and 6, refine your PM strategies and start structured reviews of bad actors. Use these early wins to create pull from other areas of the plant. Finally, in the 6 to 12-month window, scale the model to other units and institutionalize the training. This is where you shift from project language to business as usual. In Part 8, we'll look at 4 brief case vignettes that illustrate the lessons we've discussed. Case 1 shows a dashboard-rich failure. A site had great visuals but weak workflow discipline. The lesson here is that you cannot report your way out of an unstable work process. Case 2 features a pilot that stuck. By simplifying reporting and protecting the planner's focus in one area, they proved the value and built trust faster than any slogan could. Case 3 highlights the central team trap. When a central group owns the change, the site stops making decisions for itself. Central teams must enable, not replace, local leadership. Case 4 shows the power of transformation through subtraction. By removing redundant reports, managers regain the time needed for field coaching and quality reviews. We conclude with Part 9, closing guidance on the leadership discipline required to make change last. Keep these 5 principles in mind. Don't launch what the system can't absorb. Design around work. Make ownership unmistakable. Tie changes to loss and govern for staying power. If you remember only one thing, let it be this: without behavior change, it's just branding. Without role capacity, it's overload. And without local ownership, is only temporary. For industrial leaders, the key takeaway is that true transformation is a plant-owned operating system. It's about sequencing and simplification. When designed well, maintenance excellence becomes the normal way we lead. I provided my credits and disclosures here. These frameworks are intended for educational use and should be tailored to your specific site conditions and business needs. In closing, the best maintenance transformation doesn't feel like a program for very long. It just becomes how we work. That is the durable standard we should all strive for. Thank you.